started. So good afternoon. As mentioned, I'm Marianne Abrahamson. I'm a senior planner with the Hillsborough City County Planning Commission. I have my camera off at the moment to hopefully make the presentation run a little bit smoother tech-wise, but I will turn it on during our Q&A after the presentation concludes. So I'm joined today by my colleagues Jay Collins and Alvaro Gabaldon, and we look forward to providing you all with some information on the housing section of the comprehensive plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County, and from hearing from you all as well. And as mentioned, we'll open it up for a Q&A after the presentation concludes. So we're going to start off with a polling question to get a better feel for who's in our group today. So let me go ahead and bring that up. So what is your relationship to unincorporated Hillsborough County? Are you a resident? Are you interested in moving to the county? Do you work in Hillsborough County in an industry other than housing? Or do you work in the housing industry here? You may go ahead and select any and all that apply to you, or if none of these apply, you may enter a different response in the chat/questions box. And just so you know, we'll be monitoring the chat/questions box responses and have an opportunity to dive a bit deeper into these responses during the Q&A. All right, I'll just give it a few more seconds here. All right, so it looks like about 50% of you work in unincorporated Hillsborough County in the housing industry. So that is nice that we are joined by so many of you that are interested in hearing more about the proposed policy updates. That's great. Let's see, and then I'm going to just open up the questions so that I can see. All right. All right, thank you all for doing that. All right, so let's move on to our next slide. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, given the responses, oops, let me hide that. There we go. Given the responses, many of you should be familiar with this, but for those who are not familiar, I just wanted to give a brief overview of what the function of a comprehensive plan is and is not. So we want to provide a little bit of context before we jump in. So first, every jurisdiction in the state of Florida is required to have a comprehensive plan, which lists its adopted policies on issues that affect quality of life. So things like transportation, land use, and housing, among others. So it's also important to note what functions a comprehensive plan does not serve. So a comp plan does not provide specifics on certain regulatory items like setbacks, lot size, and parking. Those things are controlled by the Land Development Code. It is also not a mechanism. Oh, I'm sorry. Are the slides not being shared? I apologize. Let's see. Hey, Alvaro, do you see the slides on your end?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Just might be like a window thing if you're using multiple screens.
All right, do you see the slides now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, so moving on, it's also not the mechanism for which funding is delivered to housing. However, state and federal funding plans must be consistent with the comp plan. It is also not an action plan, but rather acts as a visioning and guiding document. So the graphic seen here represents where we are at this point in the overall comp plan update for Hillsborough County. The solid puzzle pieces indicate a completed chapter, and the puzzle pieces that are shaded indicate chapters that are currently underway. So as you can see, the housing section falls under the community and built environment chapter of the comprehensive plan, and that is what we're working on updating now. So a major focus of the update is to streamline goals and objectives while focusing on equal access and supply, linking housing and transportation, and revising the affordable housing density bonus. We're proposing one all-encompassing goal for the housing section, and that is to ensure fair and equal access to housing for all people in Hillsborough County while accounting for population growth, climate change, and affordability. And from this goal, we've identified 7 key objectives, which expand on various topics pertaining to housing, including supply, development incentives, the density bonus, finance strategies, linking transportation, equal access, and sustainability. Our first proposed objective, supply, reads support a range of affordable housing stock to meet current and projected housing needs. So the policies here under this objective acknowledge that serving people is at the core of our work, and that is why we are here today. So we have proposed policies that support education and other services that increase the understanding and access to housing. So in order to most efficiently increase the supply, we must also encourage partnerships and collaboration across county departments, jurisdictions, developers, and residents. And the supply that we support must be diverse to provide a variety of housing types for all residents of Hillsborough County, because everybody has, a unique housing need. So proposed objective 2 is development incentives, which reads prioritize the provision of affordable housing and implement development incentives that increase affordable housing opportunities. And the supporting policies include an administrative approach, for example, reviewing regulatory processes to ensure that an applicant does not incur excessive costs or delays, and development tools which encourage a variety of approaches like flexible site design, density bonuses, and others to encourage an increase in housing production and redevelopment. Our third objective is the affordable housing density bonus. So last year, the Planning Commission retained consulting firm Banesh to undergo a study resulting in an update to this density bonus. And the study focused on clarifying the overall language, adding a transportation proximity bonus, and proposed a range of area median income set-asides. So when we speak about area median income, or AMI, here's a breakdown of incomes organized by people per household. So for example, a household of 3 people with a total income of just over $53,000 a year would fall in the 80% AMI range. And to further put this into perspective, here is an example using salaries specific to Hillsborough County. So a firefighter's average starting salary in Hillsborough County is just above $50,000. And this would put them at about 97% AMI for a household of just 1 person. So to explore more of the proposed changes to the affordable housing density bonus, the base bonus structure is unchanged with the exception of SMU 6 due to the nature of that future land use category. However, we're proposing an additional bonus based on proximity to a bus emphasis corridor. And the bus emphasis corridor routes are still being finalized as staff coordinate with HART on their plans for existing and future bus routes. But the minimum 20% affordability criteria remains unchanged when using an affordable housing density bonus. However, the maximum area median income has increased from 80% to 120%, and we've proposed minimum set-asides for less than 60% and less than 80% AMI when using the affordable housing density bonus. So here we have an example scenario based on a 10-acre site with a future land use designation of residential 9. So here you have what you can get under the current policy, under the proposed policy when you're not on a bus emphasis corridor, and on the proposed policy when you are on the bus emphasis corridor. So you can see here that the current and proposed policy base units remain the same, but the distribution of AMI set-asides change. So we have 30% for 60% or below AMI, 20% at 80% or below AMI, and the rest at 120% and below AMI. But when you go on a bus emphasis corridor, if you're on a bus emphasis corridor and you seek this density bonus, you get that bump in density as you see. However, that 20% remains the same, and the AMI breakdown remains the same. So it's just the amount of units overall that are changed there when you're on the bus emphasis corridor. All right, so through conversations between the consultant, staff, and other industry professionals, we've heard a reoccurring theme on certain items that directly impact the delivery of affordable housing, aside from obviously funding sources. So things such as impact fees, administrative approvals, application reviews and inspection timelines, and parking requirements. So that leads us to our second polling question, and I will go ahead and bring that up. All right, so in your opinion, what are the 3 most impactful steps that unincorporated Hillsborough County can take in the creation of more affordable housing? So go ahead and choose 3 of these that you feel are the most impactful: out of flexible site design, higher densities by right, expedited review periods, impact fee reduction, more public funding. And if there's another option that you'd like us to consider, just go ahead and enter that into the chat/questions box. I'll give people a few more seconds here. All right. All right, so a lot of you have said higher densities by right, and that's certainly something that we are looking at in that affordable housing density bonus, and how we can make that process a little bit easier for everyone to get through the application process. So that's great to see. That's great to see these answers here. So thank you for sharing those. All right, so Alvaro, can you see my screen again now?
No, it is, at least for me, it says poll question 2 still.
Poll question 2. Okay, what about now?
The slides are back now.
Okay, great. All right, so thank you. All right, so our 4th proposed objective, moving on to the next objective here, deals with finance strategies and reads, support a range of housing finance strategies to help ensure the supply of housing is consistent with the demand. And the major theme in the supporting policies is the exploration of avenues the county may take for financing housing improvement and development, including local government guarantees for loans made by the local banking community for affordable housing. Our next proposed objective is linking housing and transportation, which reads, strategically locate housing in conjunction with supportive transportation infrastructure. So in order to do so, we must coordinate across departments and with partner agencies. And so although this objective does not contain a comprehensive list of all linking housing and transportation efforts throughout the county, we do make that connection in this objective and acknowledge the impact of planning for both of those things in conjunction with one another. And our 6th proposed objective is equal access to housing, in which we explore policies that support housing for a range of residents across all abilities and prohibits the discrimination of individuals with special housing needs, while encouraging practices that result in housing stability. So these policies touch on items like housing screening practices, aging in place, and housing independence for people experiencing homelessness. And our 7th and final objective refers to sustainable and innovative housing and reads, promote safe, sustainable housing that is adaptable to changing demographic and environmental conditions. And these policies consider the relationship between housing, environmental health, and physical well-being, while promoting practices like adaptive reuse, residential retrofit to reduce displacement risk due to natural disasters, and energy efficient housing construction. And this here is a photo of a project out in Pinota Sasa. It's a tiny home community. All right, so given all the information you've just heard, and we know it's a lot, we're curious to hear from you for one more polling question. This is the last one here. So do you feel like the listed objectives adequately address the housing related topics in our county? And if not, what should we explore further? So please go ahead and also, enter other ideas into the chat or questions box that you feel maybe we need to expand more on, or you feel we haven't addressed yet in these objectives. All right, and I'll give people about 15 more seconds, and then we can also chat about it in our Q&A portion as well. All right, so we have about 25% of you saying yes, 25 saying no, and 50% saying other. So I'm looking in the questions now, and I'll give you all, of course, more time if you need to enter your thoughts in the chat questions box. And you can also go ahead and email us too after this if you want to share in further detail what your thoughts are on that. All right, Alvaro, can you see the screen here?
We are still on the poll screen.
Okay, what about now?
Oh, now we're back to the slides.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. So, all right, so to wrap up, the housing section project page is live and contains a link to the draft policies in full. It also contains an area for public comment. So go ahead and, you can add any public comment there if you'd like. And we'll continue to update this page as we move throughout the process. And then this QR code here is for our survey that will be open until June 15th. So if you'd like to go ahead and scan that QR code and take our survey, that would be wonderful. And you can also contact us directly, like I mentioned, via email. Let me go to that page now and I'll go back to the other one. Via email or telephone, go ahead and reach out if you have any questions or comments for Alvaro or I. But I'll go back real quick to the future steps. So next up, we have our anticipated public hearings in August. But first, we have our workshop in June. So 22nd of this month, we have a Board of County Commissioners workshop to discuss these policies and get the feedback from the board. We move into public hearings in August. And then we have an adoption hearing in October. So again, if you would like to follow along, we are gladly welcome further input. So please let us know if you'd like to see any additional change or have any questions on these policies. So that concludes the presentation portion. And now we will get into our question and answer. So if anyone has a question, feel free to, again, enter it into the questions box, or you can raise your hand as well and we can unmute you. And you can ask a question that way. And let's see, Alvaro and Jay are also available for questions. So thank you all for sticking around, and do you guys have any questions for us?
Yeah, Marianne, can you see the question box, or I can read some of the questions we're getting. So Eric asked if building height limitations are part of the comp plan.
So building height limitations are typically a function of the land development code. Let me turn on my camera now so you all can see me. Can you see me now? Let me see.
Yeah, we can see you, Marianne.
You can see me. Okay, great. All right, so there's a face to the voice now. Yeah, so typically building height restrictions are a function of the land development code. Yeah, rather than the comprehensive plan. Yeah, Alvaro, if you could go ahead and keep reading off the questions, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through here. So Eric followed up. He said density and height limits are going to be connected, so covering those would be useful. How will the plan examine the competing interests of affordability along with various resilience objectives / elements that often increase building costs?
Yeah, that's a great question. Jay, do you want to jump in on answering that one?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jay Collins, also with the Planning Commission. Eric brings up some good points and some interesting questions there. The housing element is just one aspect of the comprehensive plan. There's also a future land use element, there's a transportation element, and collectively they do address a lot of what Eric is saying. So there may not be a one-stop shop that has all of those answers, but you'll certainly find them sprinkled throughout the comp plan. And one of the things that we are working towards right now is having a greater relationship between land use and transportation to actually build upon some of the things that you were saying about costs, height, bulk scale massing, and putting some of these density and intensities into areas that are already deemed appropriate or more appropriate based off of the fact that we're looking at some of the infrastructure improvements that are being made there through transportation infrastructure in the land use scenarios that occur along those corridors.
So we've got another question from Sean Wilson. How many times in the past 3 years has VDB been used? How many times would we like it to be used in the next 3 years in order for it to be a success? I believe that the proposed small increase in uses will not result in an increase in VDB. Will you grant a larger bonus for developments that are 100% affordable?
So that's a good question about how many times in the past 3 years. And I would have to go back and check. I know we have pulled that information on how often it's been used. I just unfortunately don't have that off the top of my head. Jay, do you recall?
I don't off the top of my head how many times the bonus has been used. I know that this is something that is specific to utilize for the county. Obviously, there are other funding mechanisms, so you don't necessarily, again, have to go through this process. You can build affordable housing anywhere in the county, right? So this is just a bonus structure. So someone also might go to actually build affordable housing, but not go through this process to do it. The issue of the 100% for an additional bonus is certainly something that we've spoken with the Affordable Housing Department here at Hillsborough County, and we'll continue to have those discussions with them.
Another question from Nathaniel. Is there any plan to incorporate ADUs as part of the housing options in Tampa?
Yeah, so thank you, Nathaniel. So just to be clear, what we're speaking about today is relates only to, or I should say applies only to the unincorporated Hillsborough County rather than the jurisdiction of the city of Tampa. But ADU, we do have ADU policies in our plan in the unincorporated Hillsborough County, Hillsborough section, or excuse me, housing section of the comprehensive plan, and ADUs are permitted, and we certainly acknowledge that that is a viable means to increasing the housing supply, especially of naturally occurring affordable housing. I will say, you know, the city of Tampa's housing section is going to be opened up and updated shortly. So the work on that is going to be started by the end of this year, most likely, is when that will kick off. So if you're interested in staying in tune to how the city of Tampa handles its, you know, housing section, then stay tuned for that. But today we're focusing on unincorporated Hillsborough County.
And I will add to that, though, that the city of Tampa is very interested in ADUs, and its staff is researching ADUs as well as duplexes and triplexes located in the appropriate locations.
And another comment from Sean. The example given is 10 acres. This will be a suburban site. We need to emphasize possible scenarios in the urban areas. For example, USF, Town and Country, Lake Leto, Lido. In these areas, 10-acre sites are not realistic. I think the example referring to is the, it was in previous slides, but.
Right, yeah, the breakdown, the map breakdown.
Right, and the it's not to say that there is a 10-acre minimum. If an individual has a half-acre site on 131st up there in the university area, by all means, they could apply for this density bonus, whether it's there or it's along State Road 60 out in Brandon. They could look at it. They can do it on US 92 or on Waters out in Town and Country. Any area of unincorporated Hillsborough County that is within the urban service area would be eligible for consideration of an affordable housing density bonus. Well, actually, it is today as well.
I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, here we go. Here's one from Eric. Is the breakdown of affordability levels going to be a set standard, or will there be flexibility to provide different numbers of 60, 80, 120 AMI?
Yeah, so those different levels are something that are not set in stone at the moment because we're still going through the Board of County Commissioners, workshops and input on those numbers. There was conversation at the last Board of County Commissioners workshop that they'd like to see a change in that AMI breakdown. So those are not set in stone right now. We even had discussions on maybe it should be an average of, an AMI, that it has to equal 80% as an average or something. So we're still working out the details on that. And of course, we'd like it to be flexible so that it's most usable for for everybody, but we're still kind of working out those details. And Jay, I'm not sure if you had any other thing to add on that.
No, only that it's a graduated scale, so your development would first do the 60% bucket, then the 80% bucket, then the 120. It by no means is saying you shall do 60 to 80 and then 80 to 120. If a developer got funding for a project that is all at 60% AMI or less, they can do that. Just because it has 120 on there does not mean they must put 120% AMI into a project. It's just to say that there's a bucket that you must fill before you can go to the next one. But you can always continue to fill under that first bucket or second bucket.
And I see Thomas White has his hand up. I'm going to go ahead, Thomas, and unmute you. It looks like you're self-muted, so if you'd like to speak, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I think I'm unmuted, Tom White. Very briefly, could you explain under affordable housing what the density bonus is and how it would be implemented?
Sure. So someone would have to come in and seek, seek this density bonus out at the moment. So it's not like there wouldn't be an affordable housing component that is required for every development application that comes in. Someone would come in and have to seek this density bonus. So so we have a base structure for what you have on your future, what you're entitled to in your future land use, right? And then it goes up a notch for this affordable housing density bonus if you're qualified for it. And then it goes up even further if you're located on a bus emphasis corridor. And so there's a number of provisions that have to be met as well. And I unfortunately don't have that up on the screen here. I wish I had the table in front of me, and I can certainly provide that to you, but it's also available on our website, the actual table with the breakdown of densities for each future land use category. But whoever would seek that that density bonus would have to provide 20% of their units as affordable housing, and then comply with that AMI breakdown, as we've discussed, the 60, 80, and 120% AMI. Does that answer your question?
And I could add real quick that these currently work through a public hearing process, the majority of them, and in the future they would continue to work through that public hearing process. So you are, in a sense, rezoning your piece of property, and part of that rezoning, if you were increasing the density, is an affordable housing component on top of it. So it goes through all of the exact same notification requirements that you do for any other rezoning in unincorporated Hillsborough County.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. All right, if anyone has any other questions, let's see, just monitoring the hand raises. I don't see any at the moment. Any other chats? As mentioned, you know, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to email us along the way or go to the website and navigate. And I see that Eric asked, would the slides be available? Yes, we'll add those to the website, or if you'd like to email me directly, I can email those back to you as well directly. All right, Jay, Alvaro, anything else to add?
I was just gonna pull the website link and hopefully send it to everybody here. So no, nothing else for me, but if for those interested, you know, our contact info is on the slide here, and then hopefully you can navigate to the link that I just shared in the chat window, but that's the project page for the unincorporated Hillsborough County housing section of the comprehensive plan. And so these slides will be available there, and the recording of this meeting will also be available there. And you can also sign up for continued updates in addition to just reaching out to Marianne and I if you so choose. But yeah, please visit the website.
Nothing else from me either. Just everybody have a great weekend and stay dry out there. It's going to be a wet weekend.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for your time. And yeah, hope you have a good weekend, and hope we hear from you all again soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good one.